Angela here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to the first Sunday chat of 2026. And it's a proper chat. It's a proper chat. Today we are talking about some of my 2026 goals. The ones that I think are important enough to share with you all because the changes or updates or the things that I'm doing will be reflected in the content. And I have my little notebooks with me because it's a part of my 2026 like plan and goal to be more analog, which I know is kind of like, how are you posting on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all these places and also going analog? That's why I said more analog, not completely, but we'll get there. I have some notes in my little book here that I wrote down so I can stay on topic. The first few are my personal professional goals. That's what I'm calling them. And they are professional goals that are not aligned with my 9-to-5 professional work, but like personal projects that I want to complete. One is the book. So I don't know if I talk about the book a lot on here or like super in-depth on here, but if you're on TikTok, then you know about the billionaire contract. That's a tentative name. I don't have a name for it, but essentially I am writing a spicy romance book about a billionaire who is trying to contract a young lady. Well, she's not a young lady, she's of a particular age. It's not necessarily like art really imitating life, but like certain things about my female protagonist, you know, may come from some real life Angela, right? Like her age and things like that. So anyway, and he is trying to contract her into a marriage because he has a granddaughter that he has sole custody of and she needs a woman in her life. Now, why he has sole custody of this granddaughter and all of the in-between of this relationship, I want to finish the manuscript of this book by the end of 2026, right? I want to have a manuscript that I can shop around or even, you know, self-publish if that's what it comes to, but I want to have it written, edited, all of that type of stuff by the end of 2026. So that's my goal on that. And the way that I'm going to keep myself on task is that I have like filled out my Google Calendar, which is not a part of this list, but I filled out my Google Calendar. And on the Google Calendar, I've scheduled 2 time blocks in my week. It won't be the only time that I write on the book, but what I haven't done in the previous months that I have been trying to get this idea out of my head is have some scheduled structured time where I work on the book. So I'll pick it up, put it down, or I'll work on the book in my apartment and I get distracted. And so I've scheduled 2 nights a week where I'm going to leave my apartment, go into one of the co-working spaces in my building, or, you know, to the rooftop. There is working spaces up there, and dedicate my time to busting this story out. The second personal professional goal is Linger Atelier, which I have shared on here, and that is my glassware brand. The idea behind it or how I want to sort of structure it has changed a little bit, in that originally I wanted to just like design and start my own glassware brand. After further research, that is extremely expensive. It costs a lot of money. Right now, content isn't bringing in enough money where I can comfortably throw my own money that's paying the bills up in here at trying to design glassware. So I'm going to take another approach to just get myself started. It's always been my plan for it to be like a micro brand, so very small, like ranges of like inventory to come out at a time. So what I am going to do is start off with making it sort of like a wholesale resale brand, just to sort of also see if people like my vibe and my taste, and I think that's a good way to do it. So then when I go into designing my own, right, people already sort of have an idea of like what my aesthetic is and sort of the things that I will be producing. So the way that I plan on doing that is sourcing different vintage or just thrifted glassware that I think deserve a second chance, a second home. And then I'm also going to tap into some resale stuff as well. And so by the end of the year, I would like to have Linger Atelier also like a storefront and have some inventory for people to like shop and sort of just like establish a brand identity. I want to start using the socials more. That includes Instagram and Pinterest mainly right now for Linger. So I also want to have that up and running, standing by the end of 2026. And then the third personal professional goal that I have is to be more strategic with my content. Content is a second stream of income for me, a hustle, if you will. And I don't make a lot of money off of content, if I'm being quite honest. And I think it's because I just haven't sat down and taken the time to be really strategic with my content, and in being authentic still. Like, I don't plan on like switching up on y'all, right? I plan on like mixing in, like I said, very strategic content, because I'm trying to show brands what I have to offer them, so then they want to work with me. And yes, a part of it is because brand deals bring money, right? There is money to be made, right? I'm gonna just keep it a bean with y'all. But I also feel like that income will afford me the ability to work even harder on Linger Atelier and do a bunch of things that I want to do with that, and also, you know, take time and space, if push comes to shove, to work on the billionaire contract, tentatively named. We don't have an actual name for it. So yes, I want to make money by working with brands. I want to make money for the content that I make, but more than the money, for me, certain brand deals will give me the opportunity to fulfill like goals and interests that I have always had. So I'm thinking things like hosting, narrating, moderating, panel discussions, public speaking. So things like those that give me the opportunity to flex my communications muscle, but also give some structure to the commentary that I already do online, right? Like, that's my bread and butter online. I'm not even gonna lie. The content that I get the most engagement, I get the most feedback on, is my social commentary, right? And so I want to be able to take that and utilize that in the form of all of the things that all of the aforementioned things. And then on to personal goals. I just have one that I think is relevant to my audience on social media, and this little book is a part of that. I want to spend less time on social media, not creating, but consuming social media. I want to spend less time utilizing electronics in general, and so that's where all of these little books that I have come into play. Y'all, my usage time on my phone is ridiculous. It's up to like 15 hours a day, which is crazy. And I know that part of that is because I use my phone for a lot, right? I watch YouTube on my phone, which that counts towards your screen time. And I also read on my phone. So I have been reading from the Kindle app on my phone, because it is a practice that keeps me from actually scrolling my phone. If I'm reading, I can't also be scrolling social media, right? But that is also counted as screen time. And even though I know that I'm spending a huge bulk of my time reading books on my phone, it still bothers me to see 15 hours a day. That's just asinine, right? And also, I just feel like I just am craving to just have more things in my hand that is not a phone or a tablet or a Kindle, which is why I just didn't buy a Kindle, right? Because I know you're probably like, well, just buy a Kindle and read it that way so it won't go towards your screen time, right? But that's just another electronic. I also don't want to buy another electronic when I have a smartphone that literally does everything. I have a computer that also does everything, and I already have an iPad. I don't want another thing. So a part of me going analog is I am going to start buying more physical books. I am going to transition out of reading pretty much everything on Kindle. I do buy books, but it just depends on what the book is. But here lately, every book that I've read has been on Kindle. I am going to transition out of that and start buying physical books. And the way that I'm going to offset the fact that I will be consuming more, is that I'm going to do like thrift books, sites like those where you can get books secondhand, used, things like that. So I'm not, you know, buying new stuff every time. The cookbooks that I bought, other than Scott, I got Scott's book off of Amazon, but Haley's book and Chrissy Teigen's book I actually bought secondhand. So they're a little dinged up, you know, whatever, but they work. And so that's my thought process with buying books. But I will go back to buying books so I can just have like a physical book that I drop in my bag, you know, I can read on the go. It's actually in my hand. And to be quite honest, if I'm being quite honest, and I'm not just saying this because it's one of my New Year goals, I actually enjoy the practice of like having a book in my hand more. And I kind of miss that too. Now, as I mentioned, I did like fill out my Google Calendar. Right now, that's my planning process. Even though I'm toying with the idea of getting a paper planner and just going analog there as well. But because when I think about it, right, I have a Google Calendar on my laptop and I have it on my phone. In order to check my Google Calendar, I have to either pick up my phone or I have to open my laptop. I don't know. It's still TBD on that one. But that is the only sort of like personal record taking that I will be doing digitally for now, right? So I have these 3 Moleskines here. This little green book, you've probably seen me with this before, especially if you follow me on TikTok. I always have this little book in my hand because it's like my junk drawer of a book. I carry this little Moleskine with me everywhere. It stays in my bag, and this is where I, you know, write down ideas and grocery lists and just like random things that like pop in my head. I always have this book and a pen with me. I don't typically put it in like my notes app. I literally write it in this book. So this is a practice that I have always had, and that won't change. Also, I have this like medium size Moleskine, same book, just a bigger size, that I was attempting to like journal. And what I've learned about myself is the traditional way of journaling it doesn't work for me. It does sitting down and recapping my day or talking about my feelings in journal. I've tried it over and over and over. That's why I have amassed like so many notebooks that are just like half full in my TV stand. So I've had this next to my nightstand for at least a year, and as you can see, it's like pages torn out of it because I will start journaling and then I will stop. I will start journaling and then I will stop. So I decided that because I'm going to be using or buying more books, like physical books, that this would be the notebook that I use to annotate books, because what I am is a huge annotator, right? But I be writing in my books. I will write a book up, highlight a book. It be words and notes all in the margin. And I really, like when my friend was here visiting, like she was going through my books and I was like, she can't even take a book with her. I mean, she can if she doesn't mind, but like all of the books are marked up. Girl, marked up like a subway. I didn't graffiti the books. So in an effort to not mark up all of my books so that other people can possibly enjoy them, I'm going to annotate in this notebook instead. So like right now I'm reading The Filling Station by Vanessa Miller, and I was reading it last night, and I would have written all of this in that book. I would have written all of this in that book, but I just annotated it in this notebook, and I was like, okay, I could do that. I like that. That works for me. So this is going to be my book annotation notebook. And then I recently, as in yesterday, went and picked up this expanded Moleskine. So it's basically this book in a bigger size with more pages, and this is going to be sort of like my journal. But instead of doing like the traditional journaling, like today I did, this is how I feel, yeah, journal prompts, like that does not work for me. However, I am a collector of things. So if I go to an exhibit, a new restaurant, if I go to a show, if I go to a concert, whatever the case may be, I'm usually keeping a trinket or picking up a trinket or buying something as like a keepsake from that experience. And so I've been looking at a lot of like journaling videos, and I came across junk journaling. Now, people that junk journal, it's a whole thing. So this is going to be Angela's version of junk journaling, where instead of all of the things, like, look, I'm gonna still take pictures of the things. I'm gonna still be in the museum taking pictures, at the concert taking video, but I find that all of my keepsakes, all of my memories are in my phone or in these vlogs or in vlogs on social media, right? And I don't have any like tangible like things that I can touch and look back on, other than like the physical trinkets that I have, that I like have in stacks on my like bookcase or in, you know, folders or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to use this journal to be a physical memory of different things that I do. Again, I'm not gonna stop taking pictures. I love a picture of a thing. I love to snap a picture, not of myself so much. That's one of my goals that I'm not talking about on here, but child, I do not be taking pictures of myself. One of my goals is to take more pictures of myself at the things that I do, but I will take a picture of a thing. I also want just like a physical thing that if I want to like go back on a memory or something like that, I don't always have to pick up my phone and scroll through or go to social media or come to YouTube or, you know, dig out a drive that I didn't save the stuff on and look at. I can also just pick up a book, scroll through, and find a memory in a book that I've written down. So I'm going to do like Angela's version of junk journaling. So I've already had my first like 2026, technically it was 2025 because this was New Year's Eve, but I went to the Elizabeth Catlett exhibit at the Art Institute here in Chicago, and I picked up this little postcard. And typically when I go to exhibits, I'll pick up a postcard or a print or, you know, something from the exhibit as a keepsake, a magnet, something I can frame, whatever the case may be. So I picked up this postcard to put in my journal as like the first entry, and I just taped it to this page. And then on this page, I wrote a bunch of details about the show. I wrote like the title of this. This is actually a sculpture from Elizabeth Catlett. It's called Black Unity. And so I just noted what that's called. I put a little annotation about who the author is. I put a quote that I took a picture of that I really liked from the exhibit, and I wrote it in the journal. I wrote the name of the exhibit so I'll remember that. And then I just wrote a little note about like what my favorite series was, because you know how like exhibits will be set up and they have like their works by like the series that they created them in. So one series I was particularly drawn to, and all of the pieces in the series, when you put the titles together, it makes a poem. It makes a poem. Oh my god, it makes a poem. So then I also wrote the poem here. There we go, that's the word. I also like wrote that out here, right? So I don't have to Google it when I'm trying to reference it. I can just pick up my book and be like, oh, I got the poem written down in the book. And then I also made a list of some of my favorite pieces just overall here. And then I just wrote a little paragraph of two about the emotions that I felt while looking at taking in the exhibit. So this is what this book is going to be used for. Every time that I do something that I want to remember, of course I'm going to take pictures and stuff like that, but I am also going to, if I pick up a little trinket, it'll go into here and I'll sort of like annotate the experience just like I do the books, but in this bigger, more expanded book. So those are some of my those are, I feel like, the biggest 2026 goals that I have. And again, like I said, a lot of this will be reflected in the content that I create, so I thought that would be really cool to share with you guys. If you feel so inclined, let me know in the comments some of the things that you are doing in 2026. I would love to hear about it. And in the meantime, thank y'all so much for watching. Thank y'all so much for being here. Happy New Year. Let me tell you something. 2026 is gonna be something. 2026 is gonna be something. I'm tired of playing small. It's time to think big, bitch. You're not a bitch, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't already, follow me across my social platforms, which are linked in the description box below. And I will talk to y'all in the next video. Bye. This is crazy. Do y'all think I should add a planner to this? I don't know, y'all. I feel like I should just commit and go full. Four books to have at one time is nuts. But I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm doing it.